Take a moment to think of the best speech that you've ever witnessed. Maybe the speaker was so compelling that they moved you to tears, or maybe the speaker was so eloquent in describing an issue that they really got you to rethink and maybe even change your mind. Regardless of what speech you think is the best speech you've listened to or your favorite speech, I imagine delivery was a critical component in getting that speaker to impact you and your thoughts or your feelings. Delivery is the lifeblood of our speeches. Delivery is the first thing that our audiences notice about us, and they often assess our speaking based off our delivery first. And so in this video series, I want to use my 10 years of experience teaching public speaking to provide you all with some actionable tips and advice about how you might improve your speaking skills. Delivery matters. A well-delivered speech can help boost our credibility with our audience as it shows the command that we have over our content. Conversely, a poorly delivered speech can really undermine our ability to convince our audience of anything, and it also hampers our credibility as it might show that we weren't as prepared as we needed to be to give our audience the best information possible. So when we are speaking, we want to try to aim for purposeful and natural sounding speaking that enhances our content. That is our main goal, to make sure our delivery is always enhancing our content, making our content easier to follow or understand. Oddly enough, natural sounding speaking that gets that content through to the audience often requires a lot of intensive preparation. When I am teaching public speaking, the thing I see the most in my students is that they have not practiced enough to have a strong speech, or a speech that will get their information across to their audience. And so I want to start this series by providing you all with 3 tips for how you might more effectively practice your speaking. My first tip is to watch other successful speakers. When we're watching other successful speakers, we can take note of all the things that they're doing well to persuade their audience. For example, maybe they use gestures in a particular way that show warmth and intimacy with their audience. Or maybe the way that they're maintaining eye contact is one that you think you could do as well. So take a moment to think of all the successful speakers that you know of. Maybe you think of Martin Luther King or Ronald Reagan or Barack Obama. And then watch some of their speeches, taking note of the things that they're doing to improve their delivery or to connect with their audience through their delivery. Jot down those thoughts that you have, and then put in the comments below all the things that you've learned from these other speakers so we can start compiling a shared resource of the things that we can do to improve our delivery. My second piece of advice is to always record your speeches. We cannot fix problems unless we know that we have those problems. And recording our speeches is one of the most effective ways to notice what we are doing and what we might change to improve our performance. And so always take some time to record yourself speaking. And yes, it will sound a little weird at first because your voice will sound differently out loud to you than it does in your head. But just push through that uncomfortability. Look at yourself, look at all the things that you're doing in your speech, your vocal patterns, your gestures, and all of that, and you'll be performing better in no time. And then third and finally, my most basic piece of advice is always to practice how you want to perform. When I grew up, I was in band, and that was always our thought, that we should be practicing like we are about to perform. And so we need to make sure that if we are going to give a speech standing up, that we are practicing standing up. If we are going to give a speech that is out loud, we should be practicing out loud. The more that we practice kind of in the same setting that we're going to perform, the more comfortable we're going to be when we actually get to that performance. Think of practicing your delivery like you would going to the gym or working out. If you go from doing 0 push-ups for your entire life to trying to get in 200 push-ups a day, that's not going to work. Your arms are going to fall off. Likewise, when we are trying to practice our delivery, we can't just will ourselves to be eloquent. We need to practice it over time to develop the muscles to be able to deliver a more effective speech. And so now that I've covered a few tips and tricks for how you can practice a more effective speech, let's take some time to look at some specific delivery aspects, including our articulation. So please check out that video on articulation to improve that aspect of your delivery. And as always, if you think you've learned something from this video, please take a moment to like and subscribe to support the channel. I really appreciate it. Have a good one. Talk to you next time.